Okay, this is going to be a really quick video on tips and tricks I have for you and how I would approach attempting B tasks. Now, if most B tasks, they look like this, it looks really intimidating at first, but if you approach it in a systematic way, it'll make it a lot easier and it'll improve your quality and speed. So first thing I do when I start doing these tasks is I look through camera view. This helps find any problematic areas or any objects that need to have a special label. So I see back here there's a couple of vans, I see a parking lot. I'm just sort of making a blueprint of how I'm going to approach this task. I see a gas station here. These need to be annotated individually. I see a couple of cars, a car pumping gas with the door open, so the cuboid has to include that. I see cars approaching this stoplight, and I see cars waiting that are stopped, so I have to annotate all of these. I see a person crossing the street here. I see a couple other people crossing the street. Maybe a child here crossing the street. I see a cone and a construction sign that needs to be annotated, a van here, another parking area. I keep on going through, looks like we're driving through this intersection, another gas station on the right here. All these cars need to be annotated. Looks like a shopping area, this can be marked with a no label zone. And there's more cars here waiting to go across the intersection here. Once I do a quick run through in camera view, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick run through in LiDAR view as well. Trying to see if there's anything behind the SCC that I can't see in camera view. Looks like there might be a hidden car right here. Kind of hard to tell. Using top-down view helps a lot here too. Trying to look across intersections, looking along the sidewalks for any moving points. I'm doing just a really quick run through here. Great. Just looking, there's cars driving with the SCC. Okay, this is a good starting point. One thing that I would do right away is just start annotating these cars. One thing that people tend to get wrong is annotating cars marked as stationary at stoplights, even though they might not be stopped the entire time. Typically, you'll see some cars get impatient. They'll start pulling forward, inching forward, trying to wait for the red light. And people will mark these cars as stationary, but in fact, they are actually not because they do move for a little bit. So we can't mark any cars that are moving as stationary. So here, I like to do it in non-APC mode. You could do it with APC on if that helps. But I like to just do it in non-APC mode initially. Okay, once I see that it's like this, I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick scroll through and make sure that this car isn't moving. One easy way to do this is to use APC. We'll be able to see if there's a trail. Here we can see that most of these cars don't look like they're moving. Maybe this car here is approaching. This car doesn't move. A car's driving away. So that's a quick way just to see if a car does move, in fact, while it's stopped at a stoplight. This car doesn't, so I'm going to mark it as stationary first. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the attributes. It's stopped, not parked, neither towing, and is not using active signaling. One thing we could do quickly is just to copy this cuboid using Alt, so I'll just drag it over. Sometimes if you clone it over, it will send it up in the air. So just look out for that. Bring it back down to earth here. Okay, here we go. Something like this. It looks like it's generally about the same size as the other car that we cloned from. And we'll just do small adjustments if we have to. But that should look pretty decent. I'm going to go ahead and just clone the same thing for the car behind it. Looks like this car might need a little bit more adjusting, so I'm going to lower the roof after editing it. One thing that helps out a lot is not making a car stationary before you clone it, so that way you don't have to click the Edit Stationary Object button. Same thing though, just stopped, neither, not active. And I would do that through all of these cars here. Alright, one of the tips I would give for you is looking out for these cars here. In non-APC mode, you can barely even see it. And sometimes even with APC on, it's hard to tell, but there's generally a lot of times where the car is going to be hidden behind rows of cars like this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do some other stuff. I'm going to show you how to annotate a pedestrian. It's just like annotating any other object. We have to make sure that we just include the arms and legs of this pedestrian. It's better just to make the cuboid a little bit bigger at first, and if we need to adjust it later, we can. But something like this, give it the right height. Generally, pedestrians aren't the default 2 meters high, so we almost always have to adjust the height when making the cuboid. Alright, starting point like this. Then 1 every 5 frames is a good place to start for keyframes. Let interpolation do most of the work, mainly just checking Z-index here. If you go by camera view, it's pretty decent. But just checking, looks like he's swinging his arms out a little bit. He is. So I'm going to make this cuboid larger to the biggest point that he is, which is right here. Same thing, just guide him along here. He's swinging his arms, something like that. Like this. Okay, looks like he might be moving a little bit to the left. I could turn O on just to see how smooth this path is. It helps place the next cuboids as well, the next keyframes. Something like that looks decent. Keep on going. Again, I could adjust this later on. I'm trying to get a rough thing. Here it looks like he was going down in his Z-index, so I'm going to go ahead and just adjust that a little bit here. Again, this is just like annotating any other of the dynamic objects that you ran into in the previous scenarios. But just adding one keyframe every 5 frames is pretty decent. I'm going to go backwards here a little bit. I'm going to push this cuboid back. Looks like that's pretty decent. Push it forward just a little bit here. Looks like he's speeding up. So one thing about dynamic objects is they're not always moving at a constant speed, so we have to make sure that we're putting enough keyframes to calculate that. Let's keep on going here. I'm going to do a quick run through in camera view. Generally, if it looks good in camera view, it's pretty decent in ladder view. I'm going to go ahead and give it the attribute moving. And that's how we would do a path like that. Okay. I would just approach the rest of the task the same exact way, annotating cars that are stopped, pedestrians, and approach it sort of in a section by section manner. If you just do this side of the scenario, and then you start over here and do this side of the scene, same thing for this side and the other side. And that's how I personally would approach attempting B tasks. All right. So that's all the tips and tricks I have for you for now. It was just a really quick video, but thank you for watching, and then good luck on your next scenarios.